Of all the things to neglect in the sales process, you pick the call to action to skip. I don't get it. Your job in sales is to help people get from point A to point B. But for all the digital marketing and all of the commotion around social selling and the tools that are available on the internet and the information that's available on the internet, you have somehow convinced yourself that people will get there on their own. That if you set a sophisticated enough set of mousetraps along the way to get people to opt in here or click this link here, ultimately they will find their way to the buy button and they'll select you among everyone else because you set the best set of traps. Seriously? Look, you need to get people from point A to point B, and the whole point of being a salesperson is understanding the role that this person here at point A doesn't know what he or she needs to know in order to get here. And just because the information is out there, have you been on the internet lately? Do you know how much information is out there? You've got something that you know will change the arc of their business or their career, and they're just supposed to find it on their own because nobody else out there has that kind of a solution. They don't even know where they should be looking, let alone have the time enough to go and sift through all the information to do it. Are you listening to yourself talk? Here, the reason that you're skipping the call to action may have something to do with the fact that there's so much information out there and you want to talk yourself into not having to create the necessary tension to help someone along the sales process. But the biggest reason that calls to action are being missed is because you don't know or understand your sales process well enough to know where you are, where you need to go, and how to get there. Not only does the buyer not know enough about how to get from point A to point B, you don't know well enough how to help them get there. You don't know the journey enough yourself or well enough yourself. Now that's a you problem, but it's a you problem that you can fix. This is what I want you to do. I want you to stop and I want you to think for a few minutes. I want you to think about the typical customer, the life cycle of a typical customer and their journey. Yes, the buyer's journey is a thing, but it's not one to let them go on their own. What are the steps that get them from A to B? What are the calls to action that will take them from one step to another along that journey from A to B? What are the questions that you can ask to make them think about the necessity to go from one step to another from A to B? Write that stuff down. Write it in your journal, mind map it, create a fancy infographic and send it to everybody else on your team because you know they're struggling with this too. And then study that. The next step I want you to take is think of your top 10 prospects right now. Think about the top 10 prospects that you need to follow up with right now. And think about which step of the process they're in. Once you understand which step of the process they're in, you will understand the next step in the process they need to get to. And since you've done that work, you'll know what it's going to take to get them from where they are to where the next step is. Then what I want you to do is I want you to execute on that plan in the next call that you have. And here's something I want you to think about. There is an inordinate number of salespeople out there who are Googling right now or searching right now, what's the best way to follow up with a prospect? What they're going to do in that search query is they're going to find a bunch of articles, they're going to add them to their to-read list, right? And then they're going to go into a sales call, and they're not going to know how to ask the question that's going to lead to the next step, and they're going to create yet another reason for them to have to follow up. The amount of tail chasing that is done in sales right now is ridiculous because people just don't know the process well enough. But that's not going to be you. So you're going to try that with your next 10 prospects and your next 10 calls, and you're going to see people moving through your pipeline at an increased rate. You're going to see more deals closed at the end of the pipeline because people are moving more quickly and more efficiently from point A to point B, and you're going to be a rock star in your sales organization. If you like this video, hit subscribe because there are more coming on a regular basis. If you really want to hear more from me, you go to jeffbajorek.com. You can sign up for my newsletter. But this is the kind of stuff that I do. I'm clearly passionate about it because I've been stuck in these ruts before and I've dug my way out of it. I want to help you do the same thing. I hope to see you again soon.